today. Thank you very much for coming. My name is Juan Suarez. I'm going to explain a little bit what is a strategic marketing, a strategic plan for your company, for your projects in this program. Just introducing myself, I'm an international trade consultant. I work mostly, or let's say partially, with the Spanish government. I advise companies, especially SME companies, to explore international markets, as well as inbound marketing as well, introducing foreign companies into Spain. That is basically my main activity, being an international trade consultant. On the other side, I'm a lecturer as well for business schools and private universities in Spain and other countries as well. So that is basically what I do. And a very important part of my job, of my work, is advising private companies how to go international, how to go to other markets, and that includes as well business plan. Okay, so that is basically, I give you my LinkedIn profile that you can check, and you will receive it by the chat probably from our organizers. And just to start with, I will stop this and go back to my main presentation that I wanted to be very, let's say, very active, and I would like to have a lot of intercourse with your projects, exactly the business plans you are doing, your industry sectors, and obviously your environment. So if you want to start with something, I think the first thing we have to do, especially when we talk about a business plan, is differentiate between strategic and tactic. Those are two different parts of what we have to bear in mind when we go to the market, when we try to sell our project to any company, to other intermediaries, to governments, and to businesses in general. Okay, most of you are starting to create a business plan, or you are developing a business plan already. Some of you have experience and expertise in the past, but probably some of you are not aware what is the main difference between strategy and tactics. It's very simple. Strategic is basically a strategic is a long-term view, let's say from 3 years onwards. Meanwhile, something tactical is just a 1-year plan, and even monthly plans, something that you do on a daily basis. And we shouldn't confuse both approaches, because a strategy is something that is going to go with you for the whole of your project. Meanwhile, tactics are going to be changed every day or every week, or depending on the market. So a strategy is a long view. As you see there, we call them broad focus. Meanwhile, tactical is basically a narrow focus. This is just a very theoretical approach about what we are going to see in the next 2 hours. So if you are talking about something strategic, you are talking about your position in the market. Imagine that you are working with the fruit industry. You have a project about fruit industry in your country. And one of the main things you have to do, thinking strategically, is to think, what is going to be your position? Are you going to be in the high end of the market? You are going to fight for prices. Your competition is going to be based on your competitive position is going to be based on your price, on the quality, on the brand. Probably some of you are going to create a strong brand because you want to be positioned in the market at some point. As well, the objectives. When we are talking about our strategy, we are talking about objectives, how to create those objectives. If we don't have an objective in every single area of our lives, and especially in the business plan, we are going to have problems. We cannot start a business just having no objectives at all, or having what we call bad objectives, vague objectives, very weak objectives. for example, growing is not an objective. The objectives must have a very specific qualities to be considered objectives. So strategically, we need objectives. Any of you, if you have a digital business or a digital project in Ghana, probably you are thinking about where would you like to be in 3 years on. So very important. As well, when we talk about a strategy, we are talking about strategies, the marketing mix, which product are we going to use, with distribution channels we are going to use, the prices we are going to put, the locations where we will have our products or our services. That is very important. So strategies are important. Resources are very important. The money you have, important. The human resources you have. Do you have the right people to start a business? Everything else, okay? Meanwhile, the tactical thing is detailed scheduling and costing. For example, going to a supermarket, changing your price because one client needs a special price for your product, or talking to a distribution channel for 1 week or for 1 month a presentation. Exactly, and going on and on. The choice of advertising you use, probably you one day will be in ChatGPT, one day you will be in YouTube, another one in LinkedIn, another one in whatever, Facebook, whatever you call them, in social media. Or we can use as well traditional methods of advertising like TV or radio or whatever it is. So in that sense, or public relations, in that sense, it's very important to start with, differentiate between a strategy and tactics. We are going to focus on a strategy, not only the only one, but a strategy is very important for us, especially today, where we have to create our business plan for a long term, for 3, 4, 5 years, and you would like to be in the next 4 or 5 years. So if we see our strategic plan, and probably most of you will have one, it's very easy. Well, it's not easy, but it's easy to understand, or it could be easy to understand. It's like everything you do in your life, it happens the same with the business, okay? The first thing is, as you see there, you see our mission, okay? Our mission, what we want to be, that is our mission. Our vision, where are we going to be in 3 years' time, in 5 years' time, in 1 year time? That is our vision, where we would like to be in a specific time. So that is where we start. Probably most of you have created some of the projects, or most of the projects, because you have a vision. You understand where the market will be in 3 or 5 years' time, and where would you like to be? And as well, the mission as well. Why do I have this project? Why did I start to create this business plan? So if there is somebody, Teresa del Rio, for example, or anybody who is ready to speak, can anybody give me the mission of the business plan?
Yeah. Hello.
Okay.
Yeah, my name is Godfrey Adamakon, and I'm the founder of Trotro Life. And with Trotro Life, our mission is that we are making information readily available for Trotro transportation. That is the public transportation here in Africa. And information is not readily available where people can't find information on when the next bus is coming, how much do I have to pay, and all that. That is our core mission. Information certainty. Yeah.
Okay. Perfect. All right. So once we have a mission and we have a vision, that means that we understand where we want to be and what is exactly the main reason of why my project is going on. So the first thing we have to do is analyze where we are. And where we are means internally and externally, both ways. Okay, internally, we have to watch our strengths and our weaknesses. A typical strength could be a good human resources team. Okay, the personal people I have, the the team we have in the company is very strong. That is very typical internal analysis what you do when you have a strengths. Typical weakness internally is mainly we don't have money, or we have limited amount of money, limited resources financially. Is a very typical weakness that we can find, especially when we are in a stage like you are nowadays. Okay, we are starting a business plan, we are starting a company, so it's important to understand that weaknesses are going to be strong. Probably if you try to sell your business into the European Union, and I guess most of you, or something that you would like to do, is to explore European markets. Typical weaknesses, well, we don't have information about European Union. We don't have information about how to access European Union. Okay, so that is the typical weakness and strengths as well. So that is internally, okay? So we can control that. We know what we are, but what about what is surrounding us? And that is the external analysis. Everything else, which is not internal, is something that is coming from outside, and we have to work with that. We have to live with these environmental issues, which most of them, we cannot control them, okay? And that is basically opportunities and threats. So we have to use those opportunities, and we have to avoid those threats or solve them at some point. Opportunities we can find nowadays, if I am a business starting in Ghana, and I want to go international as well, probably opportunities. I'm thinking about the fruit industry, for example, that I know that some of you are working in the fruit industry. Well, probably a good opportunity is that consumption in diets of fruits in Europe is increasing. Okay, so that will be a very interesting opportunity for Ghana companies when they try to export, for example, to the European Union. I give you a very good opportunity. The cacao industry, as you will know, cacao prices are going to have been increasing, rising up very fastly in the last 2 years. Nowadays in Spain, for example, I'm talking to you from Spain, there is a demand of quality cacao, which is very important, and many companies from Ecuador, from Latin America mainly, are having very good times exporting to the European Union through Spain, for example. So that will be opportunity. We have threats as well, environmental threats. Probably one of them, and most commonly nowadays, is political uncertainty. Okay, in the European Union, in the USA, everywhere we have political uncertainty, which is a threat, is something external, which is going on. Anybody of you can give me opportunity they see in the market for their projects? Any of you, any opportunity that you find, for example, in the fruit industry, which opportunity you can find? From my point of view, demand.
With the opportunity that I've already found about the information certainty, I got the chance to attend a boot camp in Germany, and I saw a big problem about the logistics. You see, in Germany and in some parts of Europe, especially Finland, they like to use smart lockers and having it at the malls and other ones. And with my project, it also involves in logistics, whereby information certainty, we can rely on taxi drivers to be able to connect with e-commerce people and sell at efficient pricing, because the taxi driver is already going to the mall already, so you are not probably paying extra cost. And then you keep it in your smart locker. The longer it keeps there, the more we also make money. So that's the opportunities I'm looking to explore it with my local solution here in Ghana to Europe as well.
Okay, perfect. As you see, when we talk about opportunities, generally speaking, opportunities and threat are something that can be connected at many times. Something which is opportunity at the same time can be a threat, or can become a threat, and a threat can become an opportunity. I wouldn't say easily, but it can happen from time to time. So we have to combine opportunities and threats all the time. And as my last colleague said just right now, logistics, for example, is something that is increasingly a problem for many companies. But at the same time, if you can solve that, it becomes an opportunity. Okay, but it's true that logistics nowadays, especially pricing in terms of logistics, happen all the time. In Spain, now is probably more stable, but some years ago we had a very strong, let's say, limits about logistics from China. Prices increased a lot about 3 or 4 years ago. Imagine that a container from China increased sometimes by 4 or 5 times, or 7 or 8 times, including. So prices, inflation were going up, and that was a problem. That was a threat. On the same time, there is an opportunity to be more efficient in logistics. That means that you are developing new logistic chain, which is much better for your business. So logistics is obviously a threat in many cases, an opportunity. Typical threat we see now is obviously the new government in the USA talking about tariffs, for example. I guess most of you working in the fruit industry, probably you will have in mind, okay, those were very important markets for us, but if politically protectionism is coming back again, we will have problems to introduce our products into the European Union, into the USA, or into China. So as you see, external analysis is very important, very important. Okay, so we have where are we? Okay, that will be what I just pointing, where are we? We should have that. We are going to be back later on analyzing every single point about how to do external analysis and an internal analysis. But we know already where we are, or at least we do some examination, some planning, some researching as well, and we should have some idea about who we are and where are we. So once we have that analysis, the next step is objectives, okay? But only when we have a good analysis, we can provide objectives. Otherwise, it's going to be a waste of time. I wouldn't establish any objective if I don't do a good analysis. For example, my last colleague talking about logistics, many people establish objectives, selling in Germany, selling in France, or selling in Japan, for example, for a big amount of big volumes of your projects. But you establish objectives, I don't know why, because the analysis tells you that the demand in Germany is going down, for example, for some products, obviously. But if in your products the demand is going down, your objectives cannot be so optimistic as they used to be. So that is why many people and many businesses establish objectives based on assumptions or something that they have in mind, they bear in mind something that is not real. So objectives must be very realistic and always based on external analysis and internal analysis. Internal analysis is very important, but because you have to understand where you are, okay? Anybody of you can tell me a typical objective that they have for the project for the next 3 years. Just give me one objective. Obviously, sales is a very important and a very typical, I want to sell for this amount of money. Give me another objective you can have. Anybody?
I can go.
Okay.
Well, my company is, we offer digital business cards. So one of the objectives would be to become part of most of the events that are happening in Spain and offer them that possibility to offer digital business cards to all the attendees.
Okay, perfect. That is an objective. We are going to be later on about the objectives have to be described to be, let's say, marketable objectives. Okay, so they have to be more precise, probably. That is a goal, what you said. which is important. But nowadays, we are going to see objectives. Objectives have to be specific, have to be measurables, have to be realistic, and have to be timely. But we will go with that later on. So we have the objectives. That is where we want to go, where we want to reach. My company, I am based in Ghana, in Accra, and I want to be in that situation. I want to go to this market. Okay, the next step is, okay, I know where I want to go. My objectives are these ones. How do I do that? How to go to those, to reach, to achieve those objectives? That is the strategy. Okay, very important. The strategy is creating a strategic plan to get specific objectives. If I want to sell or increase my sales for 20% in Germany, for example, or in France, that is interesting. Now I have to explain how to do that. Okay, that is the strategy. But a strategy is a still very theoretical situation. We establish the positioning in the market, we segment the market, we divide our consumers, we have different approaches. Most of them are based on paper, are based on a strategy. A strategy, generally speaking, is always theoretical. And we have to go a step forward, which is the next step, the action plan. A strategy is nothing if I don't have an action plan, because that is what will we use to get there, to get to those objectives. The strategy is the theoretical part, in theory. Action plan is the tactical, the practical thing, the operational thing to achieve my objectives. So a strategy and action and tactics, a strategy and action plan are, let's say, the two phases of the same thing. I need to go to the market and get results, which are the objectives we have. So later on, we have the execution of that action plan, which is programs. For example, our colleague has just told us to go to a trade fair in Spain and trying to sell their products, etc. That is part of our execution plan. And then when we have all this, which is let's say our business plan, then we have the last thing, and is very important, the feedback and control. We have to understand if we are reaching our goals, if we're reaching our objectives, if we are reaching where we want to go. Okay, we have to reanalyze everything else. We have to go backwards. We have to go to the beginning and see if the objectives are still being reached or not. Are we selling what we have in our objectives? The markets we plan to be in are conquered in some point, or we were not able to create those objectives and reaching those objectives. So feedback and control is probably one of the most important things in our strategy, in our strategic plan, in our business plan. The business plan has to be reviewed all the time, like a human being, and see in which areas we are failing. If we are not reaching our goals, something is going wrong. We have to analyze. Probably we didn't do a good analysis. Probably our objectives were very optimistic. Probably our strategy was not the good one. Our pricing, our products, etc., are not received by the market. Or probably our action plan, we didn't go to the right trade fairs. We didn't talk to the right people in Germany. Many things that we can do, okay? Or advertising, we didn't do the right advertising. We didn't use the right social media. Probably we are doing Facebook. Meanwhile, Instagram or TikTok were more reliable for us and more efficient. So that last thing, feedback and control, is very important. It's what we call the KPIs, key performance indicators, that probably many of you are aware of that and you were using. And as a summary, is basically to understand if our strategy is going well or not. That is basically what we do in feedback and control. and try to review all the time our strategic plan. Okay, so that is basically the
Excuse
process.
me, Juan, can I say something?
Yes,
Can
of
I ask
course.
something?
Okay.
Okay, sorry for interrupting you. I was thinking, for example, but I'm not really sure if this is an objective or a goal. So maybe you can clarify to me. One of my goals, objective, would be like to be like a reference in some Spanish universities for foreigner students to come to Spain to study, and they also have to learn Spanish. So is that an objective? Would be that
Yes.
a goal?
It's an objective, but is not a precise one. We are going to go a bit, and we will see that later on in 5 minutes, in 10 minutes probably. To be a very specific objective, being a reference is something too vague. It's something that is not very precise. Anybody can be, or you can think you are a reference, but a reference must be, let's say, reflected in sales or in the number of people that mentioned you on the internet, or the experts you have in your portfolio, etc., etc. You have to be a little bit more precise than that, because being a reference is a concept, and objectives are not concepts. That is good. That is good. At the end of the day, that is what is in your mind, being a reference. But if you say, I want to be one of the main names or the people that contact first in 20% of the Spanish universities, that is an objective, because it's a specific, it's measurable. So it's nice to have it's nice to have those being a reference, but you have to explain that with numbers. And for example, establishing in 2 years' time, I want to be recognized, or I want to have the contact of the dean of 20% of the Spanish public universities. That will be a very specific objective. Okay, we are going to see later on that. But being a reference is nice, it's a good goal. But for the business plan, we have to be more precise, because otherwise you are going to be, probably in 5 years' time, you are going to think, okay, I'm a reference for the universities in Spain, but I'm not getting any income from that. I'm not selling my product. Being a reference is nice, but we have to be more precise. We will see that later on. Okay, and let me get your name, Antonio Linares, and I will explain to you later on as well. The stages in the development of a marketing strategic plan. We see that this is put in letters, what we just saw in the graphic before. Carry out a marketing audit, internal and external. Has anybody of you, and I am asking probably those of you that have a business plan which is more developed, you are more than 20 people here, and probably some of you don't have, I wouldn't say an audit. Audit is a very strong, or very, let's say, very hard word to use, but at least to have an analysis, internal and external analysis. Do you think, any of you, that you have done a very, let's say, deep analysis of your business? Anybody of you? If there is somebody who has been spending a lot of money, well, not money, it can be money, but spending a lot of time thinking about your internal strengths and weaknesses and your external threats and opportunities, probably most of you have done this in a way based on assumptions, being in intuition as well, having thoughts about that, talking to colleagues, etc., going to the market and understand. But putting it in paper and doing a specific analysis is important, because it's going to give you the right thing to do for the next step, conducting a SWOT analysis. A SWOT analysis is not more than strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. We have to understand that, and you have to be very realistic. If you, for example, in threats, if you don't consider logistic cost can be a threat, probably you have to think about that. If you don't consider that political uncertainty is a threat for your business, that sometimes can be opportunity as well. Depends on the product you are selling. Okay, so threats and opportunities are two faces of probably the same question, and the same thing for strengths and weaknesses. Okay, you have to be aware, what is my main strength? Is anybody of you that has like the main strength having a strong financial position? Be be as reasonable as you can, and be as honest as you can. Yes, is anybody who thinks that one of the main strengths is financial strength?
Yeah, hello.
Yes.
No, my strength is not a financial strength. My strength is more like recognition.
Okay, for example, and we have to establish that. That is my main strength. What about the team you have?
On testing users.
The people you have, is that a strength or weakness for you in your business?
It's a strength for me because I'm able to get live feedback from them. I mean,
right. Okay. You see, you have already two strengths.
A great strength for me, and also to shaping it.
Right, right. Two strengths. What about weaknesses? Can you tell me a weakness that you see, and try to be as honest as you can, because people don't like to say that they have weaknesses. But what is your main weakness?
The industry sees us as kind of like minus to change that whole industry because it has probably been there for very long.
Right. And what about opportunities? What opportunities do you see in the market for your business plan? Hello?
More disturbing, and they are less cooperative on that.
Right.
Yeah, they also think that I'm young and when I have probably a lot of money to run the business as I think to be, or I'm just dreaming ambitious. So that's how my weaknesses in my industry has been.
Okay, perfect, perfect. What about opportunities? Which opportunities do you see in the market? Can you do that analysis, or have you done that analysis?
Yeah, with the opportunities that we have seen is that most of the transportation sectors, they have the formal and the informal. The formal is being less cooperative, and the informal section is quite cooperative with us. So we want to leverage on that, go to market with them, and then we'll be able to pull the original stations to our side. So that is the opportunity that we are seeing over here now. And also we were trying to look for just making payments app, but most people are also reaching us to us that, oh, they want to have a card to work with. So we are thinking of reaching car owners to be able to pair them and create more jobs as well.
Okay, perfect. Look at as well how Teresa del Rio thing. I think my strength in that sense could be that I don't need much financial strength. Okay, that is a very strong point to see it. Okay, if you don't have, it's true that financial strength is not necessary when you have a strong point, or your own strength is about probably something intangible. Okay, intangible assets are very important when you have a business plan, and not everything can be financial strength. If your financial resources are very, very small, obviously it can be, I wouldn't say an obstacle, but at least it could take you some more time to be successful in the market. But it's true that financial issues are not always extremely important, especially in some areas. Another person, Richard, tell us, my strength is the efficiency or potency of our product. Obviously, product is one of the main parts of the marketing mix, and if you have a good product, obviously that will be your main strength. Look, when you talk about digital products or engineering and IT, for example, you are talking to engineers all the time, and they always remark, when you talk to them and you try to do a SWOT analysis, and when you talk to them about strengths and weaknesses, the main strength they have is the product, and they focus everything on the product. I say, okay, sometimes the product is important, but even if having a very good product, it doesn't mean that you are going to be successful in the market, because there is something which is demand, something which is competition. Okay, you can have I know lots of companies that have very good products, but when they go to the market, competitors are very strong and very powerful. So not all the time you can do that. For example, Richard, in which product? What is your main product, Richard? Richard Sibu. Richard, can you tell me what is your product? Okay, when you have sometimes just can pass it. Marcus, hello?
Richard is ready.
Okay, Richard, what is your main product?
So we are into cosmetic production.
All right, cosmetics.
Yeah.
Which kind of cosmetics?
Yeah, so we do hair products.
Hair products. Okay, perfect. Do you use natural products?
Yes, we use our main
Okay.
base of the ingredients is aloe vera.
Oh, that's very good.
Yeah.
You have a very good strength there. I tell you, the demand of products in the cosmetic industry for aloe vera, there are very good markets. Japan, for example, is a very strong market for aloe vera commodities and what we call the base. In Spain, it's happening the same. In Spain, there is only one part of Spain where you can find that, is the Canary Island, as you will know. And Canary Island is very, let's say, southern to Spain. It's in the same level as basically Mauritania, mainly. At that level, latitude. So aloe vera is a very good. Yeah, I think you are right. This is the typical cases where you have very good product and is your main strength. Okay, we are going to use aloe vera later on to put example, Richard. Okay, another person, Santiago, says that the best strength must be to have the ability to sell. What do you think, Juan Ramon? Obviously, the ability to sell, that is the team, let's say human resources, having good employees. Very important. Very important. It's one of the main. When I analyze companies and when I do audits to companies, one of the first thing I put attention to is to the right people they have to sell. And I told you before, engineers are very good in doing products, but generally speaking, are very bad in selling them. And it's something that you can find all over the place. When you talk to startups, for example, technology-based companies, they are very good in doing applications and algorithms and these sort of things, Internet of Things, so whatever it is. But when they try to sell, they are very bad sellers. So having good team, or having somebody who is able to sell the products very well is a very good strength, I tell you. Okay, so that would be some of the main strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, threat you can do. As you can see, when we start talking about SWOT analysis, a lot of information comes to your mind, and you start to think about in which areas you are good, in which areas you are not so good, which opportunities come from outside with threats, etc. So in this situation, we have conducted a very small SWOT analysis. The next thing is defining marketing objectives, as we saw before, then develop marketing strategies, implementing marketing plans, review and evaluate outcomes, and prepare the next plan. Okay, is what we saw in the graphic, just putting in words now. Okay, let's go for the next. Okay, check if I can do that. Okay, that is the same thing again. I wanted to put it in three different levels. Okay, what we're going to do now is analysis. Okay, let's start with that. I told you a couple of things that you can do analysis internally and externally, and we are going to see some examples here. Okay, this graphic is very interesting because it includes everything or many of the things we have to think about when we analyze ourselves before establishing objectives, before having a strategy in the market, the analysis we have to do. If you see in the very middle of, in the inside circle, you see the internal environment, the internal analysis, and we have to talk, they use this is an old-fashioned structure, but they use EMS to declare everything. So human resources, financial resources, production resources, machinery, materials, which is product resources as well, and minutes, which is time. Okay, so the internal environment will be everything we have inside the company, and can be our financial team or financial strength. It can be our people, can be our managers that are very good in selling. They have a lot of expertise, etc., etc. And we have to analyze that realistically. But we have the microenvironment and the macro environment, and we are going to see what it is. Okay, as you see in circles, the internal environment is what we are. We know exactly who we are. We can analyze that internally. We don't need anybody else sometimes. Sometimes we need them, but we can do it by ourselves. But if you see the microenvironment, is that environment which is outside of us, but related to us, and something with whom we interact on a general basis. For example, the consumers that you see there, our clients, you interact with them. They are, let's say, external to your company. They are not part of your company, but they are relatively close to you. You interact with them. Those are the consumers. The suppliers, the providers. Probably, as we mentioned before, the aloe vera company have a lot of suppliers, or even they are their own suppliers, so they have it in-house, but they have consumers, obviously, stakeholders, people that participate in some way. And if you go to the macro environment, it's something that we cannot control at all. It's something given to us. And that is what we are going to see in more depth now, okay? Components on the marketing environment, okay? Macro environment is broad forces, which shape the character of opportunities and threats, forces and actors inside that affect the marketing operation. Say macro environment, we cannot control that. We cannot control if Donald Trump is the president of the USA. We cannot control if Germany is in recession. We cannot control technology factors that is changing the world as we know them. We cannot control logistic prices. So that is the macro environment. We cannot control that, and we cannot interact with that. It's something given to us. Okay. Meanwhile, the micro environment are actors in the immediate environment. My clients, of course, I can interact with my clients. My competitors, I can interact with my clients. I compete with them with prices, with quality, whatever it is. So the employees are my, well, not employees, trade unions, for example. I guess in Ghana, you have trade unions that you have to interact with them all the time in terms of salaries, in terms of conditions, working conditions, etc. They are my microenvironment. I deal with them. Local regulations, I talk to them. I have to work with them. There are a lot of things that we have to do on the microenvironment. Okay. Okay. Can you hear me?
Yeah, now, yes.
Yes, yes.
Okay, because I saw a message on the screen. Okay, now we are going to see, and anybody of you is going to give me some of the about these elements of the macro environment that we have to analyze. Okay, political, environment, economic, social, technological, environmental, and legal, and regulations as well. So we call them PESTEL analysis, but we can use many other ways to call them. I'm going to pass you this presentation, obviously, and from Mentor Day, they are going to be able to distribute it to you openly, so you can have access to that. We don't have time to be analyzing every single point of the macro environment, but just telling you that it's very common to use many different names. Okay, so we are going to see just a couple of them. Okay, the political environment, for example, government and local government policies, the tax regime, government attitude to regulation, trade policies, the actions of special interest and pressure groups. For example, you are in Ghana, most of you, so political environment should be, for example, in your relationship with the European Union. Can you tell me, any of you, how you see the political environment in terms of regulations with the European Union, or the relationship with the European Union, or with the USA, whatever it is, or Ghana in the surrounding countries? How do you see that? Ibrahim, for example, can you tell me something about that? Or Richard?
Okay, Richard is ready.
Okay, Richard, how do you see the political environment for your company? Obviously, we are talking about, not in general. In general, it's not important. For your company, for example, how do you see the relationship with the European Union regulations, if you know something about that?
Yes, maybe to be specific, I'll not be able to say specific, but what the experience that we've had is that trying to satisfy regulations so you can enter the European Union, the European market, is becoming a challenge. Sometimes the regulations are such that meeting them becomes difficult if you look at the nature of the business we do and our size. And so penetrating, we've tried doing that, but it's becoming tough for us in doing that.
Exactly.
So that's for the yeah. And then when it comes to even the immediate, say the ECOWAS region or something, there are some countries who are very, very, very opposite to other countries penetrating into their markets. Very, very, very tough. Very, very, very tough.
Right. It's very common. That is a very common. It's not happening only in Ghana. When you talk to people in Latin America, for example, or when we talk in Asia, or the Middle East, etc., when they talk about the European Union, they always say the same thing. Jesus is so they want to be called protectionism, but in fact they are, or we are, because we are in the European Union. I'm calling from Spain. I'm talking from Spain, and I know, talking to people from other countries, that trying to abide by the regulations that the European Union puts you is becoming a nightmare. But even for the Spanish farmers, for example, I tell you, in Spain nowadays, in agricultural issues, if you talk to people on the countryside, people working in food and beverage, for example, they are very angry about how difficult Brussels, the European Union, is putting working in the food and beverage industry, especially when you try to reach other countries like Germany, whatever, because it's a very political issue, and we cannot do anything about that. That is the important thing about the macro analysis. We are talking about different things that we cannot talk about. We can talk about, but we cannot do anything about that. Okay, so that is the typical.
Can I chime something in?
Yes.
Yeah, hello.
Hi, Edmund.
Yeah, with respect to what Richard said, I remember last year I was able to join a governmental meeting where they were talking about a bilateral agreement between Ghana and the European Union. So I don't know if he has really updated himself on the information available, but there's a bilateral agreement called the EPA that is supposed to promote trade between Ghana specifically and the rest of the European market. So if he wants to get it, he should just look into that particular agreement. And yes, the European Union have specific standards they require Ghanaian companies to meet. So if you want to export to the European market, it is up to you, the company, to ensure that you are meeting that standard. They will not lower their standards to cater for you. So you have to be able to meet that. For my company specifically, I seek to offer content marketing services for SMEs in Africa. So I'm basically being promoted because of Africa. There'll be inter-trade between a lot of African countries, and because SMEs is the bedrock of Ghana and most African countries' GDP. I think that is a way to position myself strongly in the market.
Okay. Yeah, and that happens all the time. And I think it's going to happen in the future even more than that, even more than
Yeah,
today.
even to add up to what the my last gentleman said, I have personally also benefited from the European Union penetration, and because I was following the SDG goals, and when they opened a competition for World Logistics business idea, I was able to enter and also to fulfilling their prospects of how be able to implement the SDG goals here. So we are looking at goal 8, decent goals, and also goal 9, and also to the partnership for more goals. So if you look at the SDG goals and you align it to your business, you'll be able to take a look. Probably if you have 2 or more, you'll be able to take a look and collaborate again.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Let's say, I wouldn't say happily, probably unhappily, but on one side, relationships between the European Union and Africa are going to become stronger, or that is what Europe is trying to sell, that they want to have more relationship and becoming more, let's say, African business friendly at some points. But on a daily basis, that is not happening all the time. And that is something that not only from Africa, from other countries, from other areas, from other blocks, people is telling. So important thing. The relationship between countries is important in these political issues. The relationship between countries. Generally speaking, the European Union has what we call trade agreements, which is a mix of political and economic issues. So it's something that we cannot, we can do, or we could try to abide by regulations. We can try to be better in our standards as well, trying to reach in, for example, the European Union market, or the US market, or the Chinese or the Japanese market. But it's true that it's a question of relationship between countries and governments. So we have to accept that as we can do. The economic environment, obviously, is very important to understand if you are going to grow or not, your objectives for the next few years. Obviously, economic growth is very important. Even in Ghana, for example, if you are just thinking about the local market, the domestic market in Ghana, or if you are talking about your proximity market, like Ivory Coast or Nigeria or other countries, or Senegal, or whatever it is, or if you are thinking about very, very international markets like European Union or the US, obviously economic growth is important. You will know that for aloe vera, for example, well, Spain is a good market and it's growing. It's probably the country in Europe which is growing more. Meanwhile, Germany, for example, is going down a bit and is in, I wouldn't say recession, but well, probably in recession. So inflation, unemployment rates, interest rate, exchange rate. Obviously, when the economic situation is recession in certain parts of the world, but obviously you have to analyze that. And that is going to be reflected in your objectives as well. Social environment, obviously the changes in consumption. And following with the aloe vera example is very important. Cosmetics is probably one of the areas where the European markets, or the Chinese market as well, and the US market, are increasing more spending from families. Probably is one of the top nowadays spending market that we have in local markets, and especially those that are based on natural products like aloe vera. And probably our colleague will agree with that. Other thing is how to go to the European market. But it's true that aloe vera is obviously there are many changes, social changes, and cosmetic. The appearance of people is becoming more and more important. The beauty market and well-being and all these sort of things are becoming, it's a big social change, at least in or that I saw in Spain very strongly. So population size and growth as well. Well, the changes between generations as well is very important. You have to analyze that. All of you that are working on a digital environment must think that we have differences between generations in how to deal with digital offerings. Okay, for example, in the banking industry, they know that. Okay, they have to understand that differences between different generations is you need a different approach, a different strategy. The marketing mix you are going to use is very important. How you relate to your customers is very difficult. It's very different. Sorry, it's very different. Somebody who is 60 years old and somebody who is 20 years old. Their relationship has nothing to see. If you have a brand, you have to communicate what you do in a very different way. So demographics as well is changing a lot when you talk in Ghana or when you talk in Ivory Coast. Exactly defining the demographic issues. And by demographic, I mean age distribution, family size, characteristics, profiles, different profiles, segmentations, etc. The culture, beliefs, and values of the community as well. Lifestyle is totally different. The lifestyle of a new generation set, a baby boomer, for example. Okay, so technological environment, very important as well. Those of you that work in the digital area will understand that very well. The technology environment, invention of new goods and services. How do you relate to other people? Obviously, everything related to internet or in terms of distribution, for example, we can do business to business, business to consumer in marketplaces, for example. There is something that in the 90s we couldn't do. So technology advances is changing the role of the business we have. And we cannot do that. We cannot do anything about that. That's why we call them as a macro analysis. Technology is given. We are in the world. We don't know what to do. We are watching that artificial intelligence is becoming more and more important. E-commerce is becoming more and more important. Big data, more important. Internet of Things, very important. Big data, extremely important. So it's something technological that we have to understand. Mobility, for example, electric mobility, very important. If you work in the transport industry, you know that there are some technology changes that you have to accept, and you have to accommodate your business to this new situation because it's something given and you cannot solve. Okay, so what I wanted to give you here is obviously giving you some tools or some areas where you have to analyze to have a real picture of your business. Okay, let's imagine that you have done very well this analysis and we know where we are and we have a good idea, we have a SWOT analysis. Let's go for the next thing. One of the microenvironment, I give you customers, intermediaries, suppliers or providers, competitors, local community, trade unions, cooperators, partners, regulators, etc. Those people are relating to you, are working with you. So you have to bear in mind and know them very well, okay? Know them very well. Okay, let's go to the next step, which is objectives, okay? What are objectives? I think early on, my colleague asked me if the objective he mentioned was a right objective or not. And objectives are goals or targets that the firm set themselves to achieve a strategy and which provides a focus for decision making and for devising a strategy. Okay, that is basically what is the definition of an objective. Okay, marketing objectives and strategy. Objectives provide the starting point for marketing plans. Obviously, that is important. And as well, the most important slide is this one. And I think I can answer your question before. SMART objectives. The objectives have to be specific. Okay, 2%. That is a very specific objective. My company is going to grow 2%, let's put 10% in 2025. That is very specific, measurable. quantitative and verifiable as well. Okay, 2% or 10% is still very measurable. Agree with those concerns. There must be in the company, between all your partners, an idea of let's say that goal can be achievable and has to be agreed by the rest of the team. Okay, most of you, and somebody before told me that the ability to be very good sellers, it was a very good strength in the company. So everybody in the company have to agree that those are the right objectives. For example, if you are saying, imagine that in the marketing department, which is very common. I work in the marketing department and I say, in 2025, we are going to grow 10%. But somebody from the production area will come and say, that is impossible. We don't have enough suppliers. We don't have providers. It's very strong, and the prices we have to pay for our incomes are much higher than the last year. So somebody in the company doesn't agree with us. Probably the financial department says the same. No, we cannot reach 10% increase in sales. It's impossible. So to be a very good objective has to be agreed by the rest of the company, for the rest of the team. So we have to go all together with the same objective. But it happens in every, let's say, in every activity in the life. If everybody in a group has the same objective, obviously it's not going to achieve what they are thinking of. Being realistic, saying that we are going to double our income for 2025 probably is not realistic. And if we don't do a good analysis, it's not going to be realistic, and we are not going to reach those objectives. So putting a very, let's say, optimistic objectives or goals is not a good thing to do, because it's going to be going to let you down at some point, and it's going to be a pain trying to reach objectives that are very difficult to reach. So don't be too optimistic and be more realistic. And the last characteristic of a good objective, SMART, is time related. You have to give me a time. You have to give me in 2025 or in 2026 or in September 2025 is fine. You can give me an objective for 6 months, for 12 months, for 3 years if you like. China, for example, as a country, create objectives always on a 5-year plan. Always. They don't do anything for the next year or for the next 2 years. China as a country, the political government in China always have objectives in 5 years' time. Very specific, very measurable, agreed obviously, because it's the government who create those, and generally speaking, realistic. Sometimes they are not realistic, but it's going to, I think it's a good example of a country itself that creates, I wouldn't say SMART objectives, but in some way they are very good in being very time related. My colleague earlier today told me that they wanted to be a reference in Spanish universities, but he has to tell me how specifically, in how many universities you want to be the first provider, the first supplier. Is that measurable? Is that agreed by the rest of the team in your company? Is it realistic? Probably being a little bit, or let's say a little less optimistic could be better than that. And it has to be time related. Give me a date, 2025, December 2025. So I think it was Antonio. It could be Antonio. Antonio, can you come back? Hello?
Yeah, sorry. I was,
Okay,
yeah, I'm
Antonio.
here.
Do you think now that your objectives are smart, specific, measurable, agreed, realistic, and time related?
I mean, yeah, maybe not specific at all. As you said, it's really vague. It also cannot be measurable, as I rephrase it. But when you did it, it was like in 2 years' time, I want to be recognized, like blah blah blah, in the 20% of universities. Then
Okay.
it also could be like measurable and more like realistic. So
Okay.
yeah.
It's very easy to change your objectives if you are precise and accurate, getting right objectives. If you do a good analysis, that is the most important thing. The first part that we have done today is very important because you need to be very realistic about your analysis. So creating smart objectives are good. What about Richard from Aloe Vera, for example? Do you think your objectives for next year, for 2025, are smart objectives, are specific, agreed, realistic? Richard? Or somebody else? If Richard is not ready, Laura, for example.
Some of my objectives is to be known. So I want to grow in social media. And for example, if nowadays I have like 900 followers, I would like to reach like 30,000 in 1 year.
Okay, that is a good objective. I know that having followers, whatever it is, that is a good objective. You know that becoming let's say, the rate of transition between follower to client, is the funnel is very difficult to know. But it's true that it's a good way. It could be specific. If you can give me 30,000 followers, is a very specific objective. I don't know if it's going to be, let's say, financially rewarded at some point, but it's measurable, it's agreed by your company. It could be realistic, I don't know, probably, and it's time related because it's going to be to 2025. Okay, so Santiago, do you think your objectives are smart? Santiago?
Yes, sorry. Yes, because I believe in my project, obviously, but I have the objective that reach at least 25% of the market, because my solution is something completely different in the market. But not one is using it, so I believe that can be able, with my resources and my agreements with many companies, to reach at least 25% of the market.
Perfect. One of the things I want to mention, and probably Justin, do you have smart objectives for your project? Justin? Okay, you can connect later on. One of the things I want to tell you is that everything we are going to say today is in an ideal world. Okay, this is what you should do to be a good company, a perfect company, a very rational company, professional company that has everything but under control. I can tell you as well that in my 25 years career, I didn't see a single company that fulfilled all these requirements. Okay, even multinational companies. When you talk to them about smart objectives, they say, well, we don't know what it is. We create objectives based on last year, for example. Last year, we sell this amount of money. For next year, 10% more. Say, but did you do any analysis about macro analysis or micro analysis or your internal analysis? They say, we don't care. We need to sell 10% more because senior manager said that. And that is the reasonable thing that is laying behind. But as we are trying to do the things on the best way we can, obviously being smart objectives are going to be important. So if you can do that, that would be great. I give you some examples of typical objectives. Sales. I know that most of you, when you're thinking about objectives, it's about sales. I want to sell, I don't know, the certain amount of money, and 5 million euros, 10 million euros, 12 million euros, whatever it is. Okay. Market share. I want to have, and Antonio said that, I want to have 20% of the market in that area. Market standing. I want to be a reference, but a reference being number 1, number 2, number 3 in the market, for example. Okay. I want to be in the top 3 of the Spanish market, for example. Customer satisfaction. I want to be rewarded as one of the main. My clients are very happy with me, and that is based on the feedback I receive from them. And 25% of my clients are satisfied with the service I provide. That could be a good objective for 2025. Customer awareness. How many people know my brand? And that is something that I don't want to put you in the pressure nowadays, because you are starting with your business. So establishing customer awareness at this point, I know it is difficult, and it could be a little bit letting you down. Okay. Customer retention. For other companies, for other projects, they have clients as well, but they are losing clients all the time. They are losing customers. So the main objective for 2025 is not losing anymore. Can anybody telling me what is the main objective for a company, a global company, which the main objective is customer retention nowadays? You can think of a company, tech company, who is losing a lot of clients to the competitors. Which one is that?
Something like Facebook or
X, Twitter. Twitter is having a problem with customer retention because obviously Elon Musk, let's say, attitude or whatever, political values, but it's losing a lot of users. And X, the former Twitter, is for 2025 is customer retention. It could be sales as well, obviously. It could be market share. It could be market standing, customer satisfaction. Well, I don't think they care a lot customer satisfaction, but customer retention is very important. So it's okay that probably your company in the future will have all of these objectives, and that will be good. That will mean that you have a very good company and a big company and successful. Justine, do you have Justina? Are you there? Okay.
Yes, I am.
Hello, Justina. Do you think this any of these objectives refers to you, or do you have it in your mind?
Okay, yeah, basically, I could say that everything that because I would want to understand the concept only when it's
Okay. So at some point of your life, in your business projection, you will have probably all of them, even product launches. Probably for 2025, you say, well, I'm starting with my business. My business proposal is starting now. For 2025, my main objective is to survive, okay? To have a product in the market. I am just working in my product for the last 5 years, and I don't have the product. And for 2025 is launching my product. For those in digital, on the digital business, probably is to launching the new application, the new app, for example. That would be a good product launch. For companies like in the car industry, as you see, the Chinese electric vehicles companies like Xiaomi is obviously telephone company, or different things, okay? Electronic company in general. But now they are manufacturing cars as well. For 2025, they are trying to launch, one of the main objectives they have is launching a SUV, a new car. That would be a perfect objective, okay? And probably in your projects, you will have all these objectives, probably in 2 or 3 years' time, you will be interested in that. Okay, so objectives are very wide. We can have many: maintaining market share, increasing market
Excuse me.
share, to enlarge the
Excuse me, Juan.
market, to enter new markets. For example, many of you, a good objective would be selling your products in the European Union. That would be an excellent in 2025, etc. Selling, I don't know, 10% of your business in European Union, another 10% in the US. To develop new products, probably something that is important to you. To enhance product image, probably your image is not very well recognized, you don't have awareness in the market, so you want to be recognized in the market at some point, or to establish the product as market leader. Obviously, that will be, I don't think, well, probably for some of you could refer to, but it's not feasible nowadays.
Excuse me, Juan, can I ask a question?
Sure. Go ahead.
When you have been talking about sales, you mentioned that most of companies, this year 1 million, the next year 2 millions, okay?
Yes.
But I have been living all my life thinking about on a different mindset.
Yes.
And I would like to know your opinion. I have never seen any company thinking about, if I want to reach 2 millions the next year, I will need these new resources, talking about technical resources or human resources. What is your experience in this way? Because when I say this to most of people, all of them look at me as a stupid. So, however, I think I have the right thinking.
Right. You know, there is, for the rest of the people, there is a saying in Spanish, which is, este año más con menos. Queremos más con menos. And this year we want to move more results with less resources. That is the typical saying that we have in some companies in Spain, which is transferred by senior managers to middle managers and the rest of the employees, and that is very common. Okay, and it's basically business culture. For many companies, it's business culture. They don't want to have any analysis, and the objective is just basically selling more than last year. Probably that is not your objective. Your objective is being more efficient, okay, more profitable. Many companies become more profitable selling less than before. It's not increasing sales because they want to sell more. Most of the companies reaching a certain point are becoming more reliable and more profitable, reducing the sales. They don't want to have a lot of business units that are not reliable, which are not profitable, and they prefer to reduce sales. It happened to many companies. And then you become a better company, okay? But it's true that it's a business culture always trying to sell more and abandoning the idea of you can be more profitable and you can be better for your employees, and working in the company could be better. And it's not about selling more, especially as Santiago said, they are reducing the resources for that. And in marketing departments, it happens all the time. In production departments, happen all the time. So Santiago is right, and it's business culture. It's changing for some companies, but in some companies, still that is the business culture we have. All right, let's go to the marketing strategy, okay, which is very important. And the marketing strategy is the approach the company intends to adopt in the longer term to achieve its objectives. Okay, that means that we have the marketing strategy. This is basically what we saw before, and this is the marketing strategy. Very easy to understand. The marketing strategy is based on 3 different stages. Forget about competitive advantage. Target market. The first thing to do is this, segmenting. Segmenting is just dividing the market into distinctive groups. That is the most important part of our strategy in the market. To reach our objectives, we need a good strategy. And in your projects, Justina, Tereso, Santiago, whoever, the first thing you have to do is segmenting in distinctive groups, but have to be homogeneous with certain characteristics. For example, if I work in the car industry, you will see how many segments a car industry can develop in the market. Or even easier than that, television units, Netflix, to give you an example. Netflix can segment the universe, the people, in more than 1,000 characteristics. 1,000 characteristics is a lot. Obviously, they have very good algorithms, okay? But if you are able to segment your universe is the whole amount of people we have in the world, okay? If you are able to work to segment the population in a very distinctive groups, that is very important, okay? For example, something which is very common nowadays is talking about Generation Z, okay? These people in their 20s, they have a very, very specific pattern and buying behavior, okay? So that is a good segment, let's say Generation Z. But Generation Z, or what we call, how do we call Generation Z? Generación Z, Generation Z. Okay, these people, there are different characteristics in Generation Z. Not all of them are similar. Not all of them are the same. But we have to segment people. We have to segment the universe because we cannot do our strategy for everybody. We cannot sell our product to everybody. We cannot sell aloe vera for everybody in the market. We need to segment the market. We need to segment as well our distributors as well. And once we have segmented the market, we can choose the different targets we have. For example, I can choose a specific target, which is a medium company who has between 20 and 50 employees working in the construction industry. That is a target, okay? If I am developing, for example, an application for the construction industry, probably companies that have between 20 and 50 employees are my targets. Another target could be companies which are bigger than that, but working in engineering, for example. That is another target. So for your business plans, in all the plans you are doing, we need to have some targets, very specific targets. For example, Tereso del Rio, have you done any segmentation, or at least do you have a target? Even if it's not something that you have worked a lot, but what is your main target for your business?
So I was actually thinking about it, as you mentioned it, and well, I want to create some product in legal technology, and my clients will be lawyers and notaries. So my segmentation is notaries, single lawyers that are specialized on inheritances. That is what I'm going to focus on. Single lawyers that are not specialized in inheritance. Groups of lawyers of less than 5 lawyers, and law firms.
Okay, perfect. That is good market. But in my opinion, you have to be even more specific than that. In terms of size, for example, you know that law firms are very, very different. There are small law firms, medium law firms, and then you have the big names. Reaching the big names is going to be difficult, but it could happen. Probably you have a very good product, it could happen. But generally speaking, you need to have targets with certain characteristics, because at the end of the day, you have to leave many people in the market outside of you. You don't care about them. You don't have to target everybody. You need to be sometimes going to the right target and forget the rest of the people. You don't care about them. They are not going to be your clients. Okay, when you create a movie, for example, when you do or even these television channels, for example, they have very clear what are their targets. Television programs, for example, they have very clear which are their targets. They could increase a bit the number of people which is in that target, but probably is not that they want to reach the rest of the people. They don't care. So segmenting the universe is very important. We have different tools to do it, but it's extremely important. The second one, targeting. Targeting is selecting my clients. Okay. For example, Richard, the guy from Aloe Vera, I wanted to know if you have a very specific targets or you are reaching the cosmetic industry in general. Were you able to target the right segment? Richard? Okay, if you have time, think about that, okay? Or anybody, can anybody tell me that they have considered a very specific target? Tereso, for example, Tereso del Rio, well, he's got some targets. He has to work a little bit more on them, especially in terms of size, but in terms of the class of law they are acting in, he was in the right direction. But can anybody give me a good target, a very specific target, saying, for example, my target is people in their 50s, which are women living on the countryside?
Yeah.
Anybody? Richard, what is your target? What are your targets? It can be more than one, obviously. Hopefully, it will be more than one target. Okay, working in only one target is a niche market, and that is probably difficult. Richard, can you tell me your targets? Emmanuel?
Okay, so my target is the pharmaceutical companies. They are my target because I'm into catfish farm. I want sell because in our country or in Europe, they're very scared with this, the eggs of the fish. I mean catfish, particularly.
Okay.
That's
Okay.
what I'm about. And that is
Richard is ready.
Perfect. Okay, perfect. So having targets is extremely important. If we don't have the targets, we are going to try to reach everybody in the market, and that is impossible. That is not a good approach for our business plan. Okay, Richard, are you there then? Okay, when you're
Hello,
ready.
can I also make a
Okay.
hello?
Yes.
This is Anthony. I am into adding value to mushroom products. So we
Okay.
produce mushroom juices and mushroom cookies.
Wow.
And our target is to the middle income health conscious people. So we target mostly because they deal with the supermarkets and shopping malls. We focus on supplying to the supermarkets and shopping mall. So
Perfect.
can we say our target market, our target segment is the supermarkets and shopping mall, or we just say people with middle income people with health consciousness?
Okay, that's right. Look at that. You at the same time you are talking about your targets, which is the target can be the final consumer, okay, which is very clear. I think you have very clear. And at the same time, you have the distribution channel you want to have. The distribution channel that we are going to see now is how do you get to the final consumer, to the target. Okay, so you have the target with the people that is going to buy your products, but you cannot sell to them directly. You need an intermediary. You need a supermarket, which is as well a target for you. Okay, perfect. Once we have these targets and we have different targets, okay, you can be for these mushroom products, can be supermarkets, medium-sized supermarkets. It can be specialized shops as well. Could be another channel as well.
Can I say something? I can ask a question.
Okay.
Can I say something?
Yes, of course.
Hello, my
Yes,
name is Regina. My name is Regina,
right,
and I run a media production company,
right,
right? So we do video productions, drone coverage, and video live streaming for companies, events, and all that. So our target market is corporate organizations, event planners, event hall, and all that. But we have different market segment for different product that we run. For instance, we have a media academy.
right,
Our market segment is different for our video services, which means like if we have an upcoming session for academy, our market segment or our target market changes to young people who want to acquire media skills, right? So is that the right thing? Are we on course?
okay, okay. Yes, that's perfect. That sounds good. At the same time, you have different targets, and it is the third step we need to do now, going to positioning. When we have different targets, we have to approach them, we have to attack them with different positioning. And that is developing a marketing strategy which positions the product in relation to rivals in order to appeal to target segments. We have different targets. We have as well different portfolio. Regina says that they have different services for different targets. So now we have to position our products or our services to those targets. And this is the most difficult thing to do, obviously, as you can understand. Okay, so very important, okay, to remain competitive.
One question. I
Yes.
was wondering what is the difference between a segment and a niche?
Okay, a niche market is a segment. Yes. A niche market is when a target is very small, that is very specialized, and it has a very, let's say, a small portion of the market. Imagine if you work in the phone industry, in the telephone industry, or let's say in IT, information technology, probably Apple, Facebook, or Meta, or Amazon, or Google, or Microsoft don't want to go into certain specific areas. They leave that market for small companies because it's not profitable for them, or they don't care. So that would be a very niche market, somebody where the big players are not, and that for you, as you are a small company and you do something very well, you don't want to go to the mass market. You want to go only for certain players. Those targets, generally speaking, don't have a big number of potential clients, but they are profitable, and you specialize in that. For example, in our friend from the mushroom company, probably at some point, a good target for them would be specialized shops in Tokyo, for example. Okay, that would be a very niche market. Just a few people, the segment is not so big. There are not so many potential clients, but you work with that. In the luxury industry, happen a lot. Most of them are niche markets. If you go to a very specific top designers, they don't have thousands of clients. Or imagine that you are Ferrari, Lamborghini, the luxury cars. They are niche market because they have probably 100, 200 clients. They don't want more. They go for a very niche market, very exclusive millionaire people that are going to spend 1 million euros in a car. That is a niche market. And it happened in many products. So what we have to do to be competitive, and that is very important in your strategy, is separate the market into appropriate segments, differentiate. You have to understand very well the market, how many people is there, how dividing people in terms of demographic, by age, by sex, by religion, by let's say classes if you have, whatever it is, and then target appropriate segments and forget about the rest. You don't have to work with everybody. If you have a very specific product with different qualities, and we are going to see that, okay, because that is very important. Okay, that is what we have to do. The process of market segmentation, you have to divide the people by demographic profile, their sex, their age, their let's say income is very important. If they are rich, they are poor or middle class, etc., etc. Okay, so these segments must be homogeneous, identifiable, accessible, measurable as well. Okay, and segmenting is extremely important. Segmenting is extremely important. If we fail doing a good segmentation, we are going to have problems. Okay, right. The market targeting is selecting the right segments. Okay, this is the people I want to talk to. This is the people where I'm going to address my product to. Okay, that is very important. And why do we choose some targets and not another ones? For example, the size is important. How many potential clients do we have in a target? Okay, if I am a car industry manufacturer, probably I want, depending on the car I have, on the car I sell. Okay, so the size is important. The growth potential. For example, the mushroom industry we have here, probably they want to be in a market that is growing. The growth potential is very important for them. Oh, we understand that these people is going to grow a lot in the future. The aloe vera product, the same thing. I want to be in a country and in a target that is going to grow in the next few years. Probably young people that want to have natural products on their cosmetic. Probably somebody who is 60 years old, natural products are not so important for them, or the opposites. I don't know. Okay, the intensity of the competition. We don't want to be in targets or segment or go or attacking the targets where we have a lot of competition. Obviously, if we have the big players, especially for projects like yours, probably is not the right thing to be. Okay, the capabilities I have, the same thing. The resources available I have is as well very important to select the targets I'm going to be. Is that accessible or not? Probably you would like to be in a market, but you don't have access to that market by different reasons. Okay, is it defendable? Can I defend myself from other people or not? Is important as well. All right, so I don't want to step more in that because we are going to be in the next situation, which is the positioning. Once we have the target, for example, my friend from the mushroom industry, they want to be selling to some specific people in Europe, for example, and they're going to use the supermarket as intermediary. We have to position ourselves. Okay, we need to have what we call the marketing mix. We need a product, a specific product. We need a price. We need a distribution channel. My friend from the mushroom industry decided that the distribution channel was going to be supermarkets. Perfect. Good thing to do. Okay. We have to understand consumer perceptions for all of your products, all your business plans you are developing in this program. You need to understand the consumer, the perception they have. That's why you are in that market. You have to position the products in the mind of the consumers. Okay. My friend Regina, when they are doing some planning, including videos, etc., obviously they have to be all the time in the mind of their consumers, of their clients. Okay, that is very important to understand the positioning and then providing the right product to that perception. Okay, even sometimes doing different positionings for different target segments. Probably I can do videos for people that have not a lot of money, people that can pay for them, and people that want excellent quality videos and they have a lot of money for a marketing campaign, for example, okay, or media campaign, which is good. And then you have different positioning for each target. Even you can use different brands. My friend Richard, for example, if they want to sell aloe vera, probably they will have a premium brand for aloe vera in the cosmetic industry. And probably they have a medium range brand or even a cheap one, entry level, because they want to sell in supermarkets in Europe, for example. Okay, that is typical. You have to understand that in your business plan, you have to, in your strategy, probably you don't have to sell just one product. You can have even the same product with different characteristics, with different features. So for reaching different targets, obviously not everybody. Imagine the case of the car manufacturing. If you go to Mercedes, Mercedes has a very expensive car for one target, a medium level car for another target. I wouldn't say a cheap one because Mercedes don't have cheap cars, but let's say entry level. For what? For many people that can buy a Mercedes nowadays. BMW, for example, one of the main strategic decisions they had to do was entering into the lower part of the market, the lower targets. Let's say people that are not rich or don't have enough money, but they wanted to buy a BMW by psychological reasons, and then create the BMW Series 1, which is, I wouldn't say cheap, but something that most of the people can buy. And they were quite successful in Spain. Okay? So what you're doing all the time is using your marketing mix, which is basically product, price, promotion, place, and you have to mix it. That's why they call them marketing mix. Laura, for example, do you have a specific, would say for this, like product, price, promotion, and distribution in your mind? Do you have it very clear?
Yes, I have a distribution channel through website for courses and learning, because I create online courses.
Okay, that would be the product.
So that will be the product, and the place where I'm planning to sell it is in Udemy.
Okay.
So that will be my channel.
Okay, that will be your channel. Perfect. What about promotion?
Promotion is the social media. That's why I want to grow in social media.
Okay, so you need a communication plan, what we call communication plan, to let know your potential clients that you are there with a product.
Yeah.
And what about the price?
The price would be around $27 per course. So every course will be around that.
Okay, perfect.
And also for the in-person, because sometimes I teach in person. So when I teach in person, it's around the same. It's like 25 euros.
Okay, this is the typical, let's say, marketing mix, or the things we can use to position ourselves to different targets. Okay, so probably you will have in the future different targets, people with more money, and your courses, you will create probably courses more expensive with different promotion, different distribution channels, etc. But apart from product, price, promotion, and place, okay, we have more things that we have to analyze, which is people as well. Probably, and somebody told me before, that the main strength they have in the company probably was not the product, was not the price, was not the promotion, was not the distribution, but it was the people. Okay, the people, the human resource they have, which is the most important thing about their positioning. For example, having good prescriptors, good selling people. Some people in the cosmetic area, the product is important, but sometimes it's not so important. Probably the prescriptors are very important. The people you have in your team. If you have a celebrity, for example, you can sell absolutely everything, and the product is not good. The price is not very different to the rest. The promotion is not so strong. The distribution channel is not so strong. But you have a celebrity that, for any reason, can promote your products, and that is basically the right thing of success in your business, okay, in your business plan. So people is very interesting. Having good people, having people with expertise in your team is important for your positioning. For example, what is Nespresso doing? If you see those advertisement from Nespresso, you will see George Clooney being the promotional side. Not only George Clooney, but other people like George Clooney, celebrities. So that is the people you want to have in your positioning. That is the people you want to use. If you go to the tennis players, Roger Federer is announcing, I think, Mercedes. Meanwhile, Rafael Nadal is announcing Kia, which is a lower segment car. Obviously, Kia is not an expensive car. They want for let's say a medium person. They use Rafael Nadal because people is very important for them. Is their positioning. Rafael Nadal means everyday working, means surviving, means strength, mental strength. That's why for a car industry like a car manufacturer like Kia, Rafael Nadal is a good thing. Other thing that we have to use, processes, customer service. How is my customer service? Probably my success in my strategy is not the product, is not the price, is not the promotion, is not the distribution channel. Is that I have very good customer service. I can sell my products through internet, for example, and you can have it in one day. Imagine that you are selling an application. An application is very important. The customer service, how you solve the problems. And these things are processes. It's not product, it's not price, it's not promotion. It's just the process. And physical evidence, which is sometimes the facilities you have, the logos, the image you have. Okay, physical image. Okay, so what I wanted to have with this is to let you know that in our strategy, we have segmenting the universe, we choose the right targets, and then we position ourselves in those targets with a product, with a price, with a promotion, with a distribution channel, with the right people, with the right processes, and the right physical evidence. That is basically how I wanted to finish this. I'm going to pass you this. Obviously, this presentation is about 69 slides. Obviously, we didn't have the time to do it, but people from Mentor Day will pass to you. I will share it with you, and then you can have all the analytical tools you can use, etc., and other theories as well. I don't want you to.
Can we ask a question?
Yes.
Okay. Sorry. My question is this, right? If you are an entrepreneur who is looking to grow your business, hello?
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes, yes. Regina, go ahead.
Okay, so as an entrepreneur who is looking to grow your business into maybe other markets, for instance, you're in Africa, you want to begin to, assess a bigger market, a larger market. How do you plan your marketing strategy? Like, you are in Africa, you understand that how do I put it? The rules work differently in Africa than it works in other continents or in other countries, right? So, and now you want to scale your business beyond your locality. You want to begin to assess maybe the bigger scale, the bigger market. How do you strategize your marketing plan to be able to reach the bigger market in terms of growing your business using marketing?
Right. What you need to do is basically the most important question is research, which is investigating the market. And for that, what you need is data. Fortunately, in the case of Europe, for example, sometimes you have to spend money to understand market, buying market reports and market research from somebody who is doing that, and they get paid for that. But on the other side, probably the best way to do it is to reach the individual countries' official ministries that have information about the market. There is not a single room to say, okay, if I want to research the Spanish market for that, where can I go? It depends on the market, but generally speaking, you will be able to reach that. I will use as well, there is a tool which is very profitable, which is a ChatGPT. With ChatGPT, probably we can find all the information we have in internet compiled, including some specific letters. And that is a good thing to start with, because it saves you a lot of time, and it is starting to give you a real picture of who is who. So ChatGPT nowadays has replaced looking at Google, not replaced, but probably is becoming more doing that. ChatGPT, I use that if I don't have the resources. Obviously, you have the resources, you are in a specific market. Imagine that you want to research the European market for that sense. Obviously, you will have to buy a market report, and probably sometimes you can find them for free, other market reports. But that is basically to understand the segments, the potential clients, the buyer behavior, how they buy the products, where they buy the products, in which sizes they buy the product, which perceptions they have about the projects, the products, the regulations you have. That is a very difficult thing, and you need to touch different things. But something which is interesting is the local bodies that work in international trade in every single country. All the countries have this official body that they can give you a lot of information. But to start with, ChatGPT has become very, very effective, because otherwise you will be Googling all the time and looking at Google and see if you can find information. For general statistics, we have different tools. I'm going to give you a good example. There is something called Intrathen. Okay, I'm going to write it down. And Intrathen has different tools that you can use for knowing about international trade. Okay, with volumes, sizes, figures, and everything else. You have different places, different websites. In Intrathen, get the name Intrathen. If you put it in the internet, you will be transcribed to a very interesting tool to know about international markets. But ChatGPT is a good tool as well to research nowadays. Otherwise, it's basically going to every single product, and every single sector is important to do. Okay, thanks, Regina. And lately, okay, thank you. Nice to you. And this is basically, again, what we start with. Okay, this is the strategic plan. I'm going to pass this information. Is already the time. They are telling me that is the time. I'm going to pass you my email address as well, just in case you're interested. I guess they will give it to you, but if you need to ask some questions, feel free to do that. juan.suarez@infebex.org. You can find information. I guess organizers will pass you my email and this presentation as well. And I'm obviously open to you if you want to write to me by email, and I will reply to you.
Ya se nota.
Okay.
All right.
Okay, thank you very much for your time. I know it's only 2 hours to talk about strategy and trying to reach everybody, but I think at some point we conquer what we expected. So thank you very much, and I see you next time.
Thank you.
Thanks to you, Juan Ramon.
Thank you, Ramon.
Bye bye.
Bye.
Very much.
Muy bueno.
Thank you very much.
Someone from Ghana doing a Bangkok would like to